Red Wings on the docket right now. Big win over Buffalo, but that's the nature of the beast right now with where they are. Big win, okay, cool story. Now tomorrow with Washington coming into town, that's where it's at. And we'll run it back all over again. But I got out in front of the overtime thing because I wanted out there that it's stupid. It's stupid that the Islanders have 15 overtime losses and they're in a playoff spot right now because they lost 15 times.
Yeah.
They're rewarded for losing. All right, my thoughts are out there. We got it out there. I'm not crying about it. This is the lay of the land right now. So you got to go do what you got to go do. You're not changing it.
Yes, but if you want to get a little bit angry for just a couple of seconds more about it, if you count just losses as all of the same, the New York Islanders are 35-42. The Ottawa Senators, who are out of the playoff race right now completely, since they only have 4 overtime losses, are 34-43. So basically, if this were any sport but hockey, if there wasn't a point system rewarding you for losing, they'd be basically 1 game apart. But in the standings, they're 13 points apart.
So there you have it.
Yeah.
Hoof-Hearted is on that angle as well. The Wings are the only team in the bunch that's close to actual 500 and not NHL 500.
38-39.
So there you have it. But yeah, so all right, the thoughts are out there. And it's one of those things where, for me, I want to get out in front of this. So just come to Jesus with it, everybody. Because we saw both sides. We saw the Wings go on that run, and, hey, they could beat the Bruins in the first round, to Yzerman's trash and should be fired and shut this whole thing down. And we got there in about the span of 4 weeks. Before we embark on this, so this next 6 games is going to dictate 5 years of rebuild for everybody, right? Am I warm on that right now?
Oh, yeah.
Like, if they get in the playoffs, everything's cool. If they don't get in the playoffs, Steve Yzerman should be fired, and the farm system's trash, and we're never gonna. This team's never gonna get back, and Yzerman should be relieved of his duties. I want that. I'll get out in front of that now, because look, while it's cute and for my entertainment benefit, and just because I would feel a little better about the situation, yeah, I want to see. Who doesn't want to see the Red Wings get in the playoffs? Yes, I want to see that. But with that being said, if they miss the playoffs by a point, it doesn't make me question everything that's going on in the organization. But you guys know I'm wired a little bit differently because I come from the school of having Franz Nielsen on the payroll at $6 million a year going, Jesus Christ, this is awful.
See, I think it makes a huge difference. And I know we've kind of had this.
How? How can 1 point make you say, oh, Yzerman, he just doesn't have it. I don't like the track they're on now.
I never once called for Steve Yzerman's job if they don't make the playoffs this year. I called for a couple. It's all about framing. Here, I will give you an example of how making the playoffs versus not making the playoffs, you can frame things a little bit differently. Let's talk about your godson, Alex DeBrincat, really quick. Because he has 1 goal in his last 18 games. He has 7 points in his last 18 games. And even though the Red Wings have it all in front of them to be able to finish the season strong and get into the playoffs, if the Red Wings don't make the playoffs and Alex DeBrincat doesn't continues to have this kind of a goalless drought or 1 goal in 18 game drought, that's what you're going to remember. But if the Red Wings do make the playoffs, you'll remember how great he was at the beginning of the year when he had 9 goals in his first, something crazy like that. He started off scorching hot. How well he was playing when the Red Wings were actually winning games. We were on that streak. And the same goes with guys like, Compher and Sprong and Joe Veleno. All of them, even though Compher's gotten on the board a couple of times, they've had a stretch recently where they haven't really done a whole lot in terms of scoring. But you can also look at it as when the Red Wings were playing well at the beginning of the year, they were a big reason why they were in that position to begin with. You could do the same thing for a Lion. He had a great stretch. He got tired. He had a bit of a bad stretch. He had a great game against Buffalo. You can look at it as, with Petrie and Olimata, Sherratt, Ghost. They've all had stretches where they haven't played well. But if they make the playoffs, none of those stretches will have cost you a whole lot of anything.
Even if they get in and get swept.
That's a win. And that's why to me...
See, I don't get what's geographically different about that. You miss the playoffs by a point, or you get in and get swept.
I'm with Neil on this.
Because there's no guarantee.
How is that a line of demarcation for the franchise?
It's not a line of demarcation for the franchise. It's about whether or not the Yzer plan 1919 is just this perfect plan that is not going off the rails
So
at
if
all.
they get in the playoffs and get swept, it is.
Yes.
And if they miss the playoffs that's stupid,
It is
Flannel.
not stupid.
That is stupid.
It is not stupid.
Say that again out loud. If they go to the playoffs, it's fine. If they miss the playoffs by a point, it's a disaster.
It's a disaster the way they ended the season if they don't make the playoffs. They were firmly in. You don't get to just collapse your season and get away with it scot-free. To me, that's dumb. There should be some heat on some players. There should be some heat on the lawn. There should be some heat on
So
CBY.
because the Islanders get 15 points for losing,
okay, but
and
again,
the Red Wings don't get in, that has an impact. So the Islanders getting 15 points for losing games has an impact on how you view Steve Yzerman's tenure as a GM. That is stupid.
Neil,
that's stupid.
it's
Sorry.
not about what should be. It's about what is.
Oh, look at that.
We can't live in fantasy land right now. We understand. We both agree that the getting a point for losing in overtime. You hate it. I don't love it, and I can definitely see where you're coming from. It wouldn't bother me at all if that rule was abolished going into next year. But it's where we're at right now. It is just where we're at. And to me, I don't necessarily accept the fact that, you're just going to get into the playoffs to get swept. This isn't NBA basketball. This isn't the Detroit Pistons playing Milwaukee. Things actually happen in the NHL. Would I expect them to win a first-round series? Absolutely not. But I'm sure Columbus didn't think they had a chance to beat maybe the greatest regular season team I've ever seen in 2019 Tampa Bay, and they swept their ass. Anything can happen in the NHL playoffs, and especially given how well set up they were at one point where they had 73 points and the teams, however many teams are chasing them, had 64, going to potentially not in the playoffs. You can't get off of that scot-free. You just can't. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's an implosion.
Okay.
That's a collapse. That's a collapse.
I do get Sam on that, Neil.
All right, Tactile Puma. The year is 2036. People still waiting for the Yzer plan to work. What evidence do you have to suggest that he hasn't incrementally improved this team every single year? Give me the math on that one. Give me the stats on that one, Sam Flannel. Please tell me how he hasn't. And remember, too, as somebody said, Justin Abdicator still making $1 million a year until 2026 because he is. The Franz Nielsen, all of that, Flannel. So please tell me again, what checkpoint has he missed with you? Have they not gotten better every single year he's been the GM?
I would say, and first off, I don't want to get too far out into the future because I think the Red Wings have a chance to make the playoffs. I think they have a chance to play really well these last, I believe it's 5 games now, hopefully go 4-1, 3-1-1 at the absolute worst. And I will gladly sit up here and say Yzer plan 1919. To me, making the playoffs in year 5, that's a checkpoint. Just making it in.
So we'd circle back then to it, but it's not year 5.
Okay. Here's why it is year 5, because actually mathematically it is. And the reason why is that we all knew during these first couple of years that the Detroit Red Wings were going to be maybe the worst team in hockey. And they were for those couple of years. They were for 3 years. And nobody said shit because we all knew what it was. We all know what it was. You lay it out every single day. It's just now it's time to improve.
God damn you, Steve Yzerman. You couldn't make the playoffs with Franz Nielsen, Justin Abdicator, and Jimmy Howard making $16 million. You couldn't do that? Obviously a terrible GM. Obviously terrible.
Neil, what did I say?
Terrible.
Uh-oh.
I said that he gets a pass.
Get him out of
He gets
here.
a pass. Nobody gave any heat on him.
So that no. It's math. That counted as a year. Those were your words.
It counts as a year where you can have a terrible record and it doesn't mean anything.
No, it counts as a year. You said that.
It does count as a year. It does.
Man.
All right.
Yzerman's a trash GM. You can't get to the playoffs with those guys counting $16 million of payroll?
Oh, you can't get to the playoffs while
Sam Gagne at $3.25 million?
You can't get to the playoffs while acquiring Alex DeBrincat during the offseason or trading for Alex DeBrincat and getting Patrick Kane midseason and who's looking like prime Patrick Kane or approximation of it.
Yeah.
You can look at it a myriad of different ways.
So Neil, you don't hold the team accountable if they, like he said, they get no blame for the collapse that they had because they worked firmly in the playoffs.
No, because I'm not going to penalize them because they got on a they got on a hot streak where they won 14 out of 18 games or whatever it was.
Yes.
They were never that good. They were never that good, just like they were never that bad.
So you thought it was fool's gold the whole time?
I thought that there was going to be regression to the mean, yes. Because that's what all these teams right now, the Washington and the Pittsburgh and where Detroit is and the Flyers and the Islanders, that's what all these teams are. You guys are judging them up against like they're supposed to be the Florida Panthers. They're not yet. They're not, Flannel.
I'm not saying
They're not.
this.
So by your rationale, then you expected them to win games at a 60% clip the whole second half of the season. That's not realistic.
Neil, there's a big leap between being the Florida Panthers and getting the last wild card
Not according
spot.
by your expectations.
What are you talking about?
Because in order for them to keep it, you needed them to win 14 out of 18 games.
No.
Yes.
They had a stretch. And you're going to love this because I'm completely discounting the overtime losses. We're in 15 games. They won 3 of them. If you think that's acceptable, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. That's an implosion. That's a collapse. That is, I believe, 3-10-1. That would give you what?
So in your world of absolutes, then, when they won 14 out of 18 or whatever that number was, then that's absolutely what they were then.
Nope.
If you're gonna kill them on this and say this is a collapse, then you got to say that that's the expectation.
That's not the expectation. No. The expectation was after that great
Because
stretch
if
of
you
play,
take those two and combine them, what are they?
they're about what they are. But
Like everybody else around them,
Like
because that's what
everybody
you
else
are.
around
If you're an
them.
8 seed in the playoffs, that's what you are.
okay, fine. And let's just
And versus what they were the day he stepped foot here is a grand improvement of where they were.
Of course it is. I'm not saying that it's not. My thing is, let's just hope that their implosion doesn't hurt them as much as, let's just say, like Philadelphia's or the Capitals. And hell, at this rate, maybe none of those 3 get in. We shall see.
No tactile. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It could end up being the Islanders and Pittsburgh, but go ahead.
No tactile Puma 58. Bust out the car flags, too. I knew they weren't very good as one hell of a changeup. No tactile Puma, because the car flag thing was out of desperation, because we haven't had a game that's going to be as big as this Capitals game in a decade here, tactile Puma. And who changed that? Who changed it? Please tell me. The guy that you think stinks is a GM that already has a track record of doing this in the NHL? Steve Yzerman, right tag? Is that where you're at with it?
Nobody,
because I'm not.
Nobody thinks that he stinks. It's just.
Oh, yeah, you do.
No, I don't. I don't.
I think it is a middle ground in here somewhere.
Here's my thought process on it. If you want to lay this all out there, with the whole Yzer Plan 1919 thing, we're basically treating him as some like infallible deity type.
Because I don't have any evidence to suggest it's not working. There's been marked improvement every single year. So what do you want the guy to do?
Make the playoffs this year. That's all I want.
Okay, so he comes up 1 point short, failure.
Well, then you don't give yourselves a chance at actually like winning some games in the playoffs. Getting into the playoffs is currency. And for the record, are we even sure that he would do it in year 6? Are we positive that everything is working
What
just
evidence,
according to schedule?
What evidence would you have to suggest it's not?
He hasn't done it yet.
I'm just saying. KG, you hit it right.
So you would just expect him to continue the mark of improvement, right?
You think,
right?
But as you say, not everything is linear. Not everything is linear, man.
It's not.
This was a year in
Except
which
for Steve Yzerman when he's been here. It's been pretty damn linear.
it's been pretty linear, but this is kind of the crossroads moment where at some point you have to take that next step. And as I said before, I do not want Steve Yzerman fired if they don't make the playoffs this year, but I expect there to be more heat on him in year 6 if he doesn't than if he does. That's all I'm saying. That's really not that crazy of a thought to me, but apparently some people think that I'm living in La La Land, but